The bell above the door chimed, and Mrs. Gable bustled in, her scent of lavender and disapproval preceding her. "Emma dear, still clinging to this hobby?" She gestured around Harbor Brew, her nose wrinkling slightly. "Derek would have wanted you to move on. 32, a widow, and apparently a failure. That's what they all saw, including Mrs. Gable, who, like most of the town, thought Harbor Brew was a sweet little place, a charming failure. They didn't know the truth. They didn't see the meticulously sanded counter, the one I'd spent weeks on, a bittersweet smile playing on my lips. "Just making the best of it, Mrs. Gable," I replied, my voice carefully neutral. Inside, a quiet defiance simmered. "Coffee for you." She ordered a latte, and I started to make it, the familiar rhythm of comfort. 6 months. 6 months since Derek died, and the vultures were circling. Namely, the Crawfords, Derek's parents. They'd never approved of me or the cafe. Now they were poised to swoop in, declaring Harbor Brew unsustainable. Their condescension was a constant, a low hum of disdain. The building itself and the adjacent property, owned outright. Derek. He saw them coming even then. He started shielding our assets, paying off the mortgage early, buying up the land next door. The early struggles, the late nights, all the doubters, fuel for his fire. They were so blind. They thought they were winning. They had no idea. This little coffee shop wasn't just a business. It was a carefully constructed trap, a hidden empire built on subsurface rights. Rights that were crucial for the city's redevelopment project, and the Crawfords were about to walk right into it. It all began with a whisper, a seed of an idea. Before the cafe even opened, Derek had a hunch. He saw the city's plans, the whispers of a major infrastructure project. He knew the Crawfords, knew their greed, their insatiable need for control. He said, "They'll try to take it, Emma. They always do." That became our mantra. The pivotal moment, when we finally secured the subsurface rights. It wasn't easy. Months of legal maneuvering, the careful creation of a shell company, Seabreeze Holdings, all while pretending to be just a struggling coffee shop. The satisfaction of that win, that moment of control, that's when the secrecy truly began. We celebrated with a bottle of champagne, a toast to our future, and a vow to keep it hidden. Others scoffed. A coffee shop. Really, Derek? His father, in particular, would sneer. A waste of your talents. They never understood the long hours, the sacrifices. The initial sales figures were modest. We were barely breaking even. The Crawfords dismissed it all as a childish whim. They didn't see the meticulous spreadsheets, the strategic planning, the long-term vision. They were too busy judging to see the foundation we were building. Our first successes were deliberately kept under wraps. We'd quietly started building a small wholesale business, supplying beans to local restaurants. We'd negotiated a lucrative deal with the city for exclusive coffee service during events, a nice bump in revenue. But the Crawfords, they were only interested in the bottom line, a number we kept carefully obscured. We, show them the bare minimum, a tiny profit, just enough to placate them. The family dynamics were a minefield. Dinners at their house were a performance. Lillian, Derek's mother, would subtly criticize everything, from my baking to the decor of the cafe. Her husband, Robert, would offer patronizing advice, always with a hint of derision. Their assumptions were our greatest weapon. They saw a grieving widow, a struggling business. They never suspected the carefully orchestrated empire beneath the surface. The burden of the secret was heavy. It meant living a double life, constantly monitoring what we said, what we did, who we trusted. But the satisfaction of outsmarting them, of building something meaningful, was a powerful motivator. The city's offer for the land, the valuation of the subsurface rights, the revenue generated from Seabreeze Holdings, all proof of our success, all hidden from the Crawfords' prying eyes. Now, as they finalize the sale, Lillian's voice rings in my ears. "Such a shame, Emma. Derek would have wanted you to move on." The irony is exquisite. The demolition crew is scheduled to begin tearing down the cafe next week. They have no idea what awaits them. Their greed, their arrogance, their condescension, it all led them here. The vault Derek built, the city's interest, the letter to David, all coming together in exactly 2 months. The moment of truth is fast approaching. As the Crawfords beamed, finalizing the paperwork, the numbers danced in my head. Harbor Brew's annual revenue was a modest $250,000, barely covering operating costs. But Seabreeze Holdings, the shell company they knew nothing about, generated a discreet $1.2 million annually from wholesale contracts and city events. The subsurface rights, valued at a conservative $5 million, were the true prize. They were so fixated on the $300,000 sale of the cafe, they were blind to the millions underneath. My daily interactions with them were a carefully crafted performance. Smiling politely as Lillian critiqued my lack of business acumen, I'd bite back the urge to reveal the truth. Each condescending comment, each patronizing gesture, was a fuel that fed the fire of revenge. The demolition, the catalyst. I feigned sadness as the wrecking ball swung. Lillian, fueled by a greed she couldn't contain, ordered the demolition crew to expedite the process, cutting corners and tearing through the building with reckless abandon. She wanted to find any valuable items left behind. It was in this rush that the hidden vault, built into the original foundation of the building, was exposed. Derek had foreseen this. The vault contained irrefutable evidence of our activities: the deed to the subsurface rights, the contract with the city, Derek's detailed letter outlining the Crawfords' history of manipulative behavior, and the full scope of their deception. The irony was a bitter, beautiful thing. As Lillian crowed about, finally getting her hands on something of value, she was unknowingly dismantling the foundation of her own downfall. The vault door, now hanging open, revealed the carefully preserved secrets of our true empire. I visited the site daily, feigning distress as the workers carted away debris. Inside, I saw the future. The city planners were already circling, eager to negotiate the land rights that would complete their project. 2 months later, David, our trusted lawyer, arrived at their opulent estate, a manila envelope in hand. Lillian, ever the social climber, was hosting a lavish garden party, a celebration of her investment. The air buzzed with gossip and champagne. Robert, beaming with self-importance, was regaling a group of prominent businessmen with tales of his shrewd deal-making. Their smugness was almost unbearable. As David approached, their smiles widened, anticipating the finalization of their purchase. The letter. Derek's words, penned with the meticulous detail of a seasoned strategist, revealed everything. Their faces contorted in disbelief, their carefully constructed facade crumbling before their very eyes. The subsurface rights, the city's interest, the complete financial picture. The Crawfords' carefully constructed world imploded. Their social standing plummeted as the story of their deceit spread through the town. Lillian's social media posts were met with derision. The local news published a scathing exposé. The city's legal team, armed with the evidence, immediately contacted me, eager to acquire the subsurface rights. The power shift was swift and decisive. The Crawfords, once masters of manipulation, were now scrambling to salvage their reputation. Lillian's network of social connections evaporated. Robert's business partners distanced themselves. Their influence, once so pervasive, crumbled like dry leaves in a November wind. I, on the other hand, was suddenly in a position of immense power. My net worth, previously hidden, now stood at over $6 million, a testament to Derek's foresight and our shared dream. I chose strategy over vengeance. I negotiated the sale of the subsurface rights with the city, securing a favorable deal that would benefit the community. I used the funds to expand Harbor Brew, renovating the space, adding a second location, and creating jobs in the town. The Crawfords, stripped of their power, were left to grapple with their own failures. I watched them from afar, occasionally seeing them in the grocery store, their faces etched with a combination of shame and regret. Life underwent a dramatic transformation. My relationship with David deepened, blossoming into a genuine partnership built on trust and shared goals. The reopening of Harbor Brew became a celebration of resilience and community. We expanded the menu, added outdoor seating, and hosted local musicians. The cafe, once a symbol of loss, was now a vibrant hub, but it wasn't without its challenges. The constant scrutiny, the demands on my time, the weight of responsibility, all new realities. I learned to navigate the complexities of wealth and influence, balancing business with personal life, honoring Derek's memory, and fulfilling his vision. The legacy was more profound than financial success. It was the vindication of Derek's unwavering belief in our shared dream. His foresight, his planning, his quiet determination, all those qualities were now etched in the fabric of the town. The closing image is the reopening of Harbor Brew. The sun streams through the windows. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee fills the air. A powerful reminder that true success whispers through quiet choices made when no one is watching. The grand revelation, the empire built in secret, the vengeance, it all fades to a simple, yet profound truth: love, legacy, and the quiet strength of building something meaningful. The day the demolition crew began, Lillian, giddy with anticipated profit, ordered the vault be opened first. "Find anything of value, boys," she'd cackled, her voice echoing through the gutted cafe. The air was thick with dust and the smell of decay. I stood back, feigning a grief that now felt as hollow as the building itself. The workers, eager to please, tore at the foundation with picks and shovels, oblivious to the trap they were unwittingly entering. Then, a clang, a resounding metallic thud. "What's that?" Lillian, her eyes gleaming with greed, hurried forward. The foreman, wiping sweat from his brow, pointed. "Looks like a safe." "A safe, get it open." The old, weathered door, hidden behind a false wall, yielded with a groan. Inside, a treasure trove of secrets waited. Not gold or jewels, but the true currency of our hidden empire: documents. A sealed envelope addressed to David. A copy of the deed to the subsurface rights. A meticulously typed letter, penned in Derek's elegant script, outlining every detail of the Crawfords' manipulation and their desperate attempt to control us. Lillian, oblivious to the impending doom, snatched the envelope, her face flushed with triumph. "Finally, something worthwhile." She clutched it to her chest, a smug smile playing on her lips. "This will be worth a fortune." I said nothing, my heart hammering against my ribs. I watched, my hands trembling slightly as she began to read the letter. The words, I knew, were a slow-acting poison. The irony, the exquisite, agonizing irony, was almost too much to bear. 2 months. The date etched on the envelope. 2 months until the grand unveiling. I knew the game was on. The setup for the revelation scene was complete. The stage was set. The letter was delivered, the truth began its ascent. The garden party was a spectacle of forced smiles and shallow pleasantries. Sunlight glinted off champagne flutes, the air thick with the scent of roses and the unmistakable odor of desperation. Lillian, resplendent in a silk dress that cost more than I made in a year, circled her guests, her voice a syrupy melody. Robert, his face flushed with self-importance, held court, regaling a cluster of businessmen with a fabricated tale of shrewd investments. Their smugness was a physical weight, pressing down on me as I watched them from the edge of the lawn. Then David arrived. My lawyer, my friend, the only person besides Derek who knew the full scope of our secret. He moved through the crowd with quiet purpose, a single manila envelope clutched in his hand. I watched his approach, my breath catching in my throat. Lillian saw him first. Her eyes lit up. "David, just the man we wanted to see." She practically glided towards him, her smile a mask of feigned warmth. "We were just discussing the finalization of the sale. Such a relief, isn't it?" David, his expression unreadable, offered the envelope. "Lillian, Robert, this is for you." Robert, his face already reddening with anticipation, snatched the envelope with a proprietary air. "Excellent. Finally, the paperwork." He began to tear it open, his eyes scanning the contents with greedy haste. Then the color drained from his face. The smile vanished, his jaw clenched. Lillian, sensing the shift, leaned closer, her own smile faltering. "What is it, Robert?" He didn't answer. He simply stared at the contents, his hands trembling. Lillian snatched the papers from him. Her initial expression of mild curiosity morphed into one of confusion, then disbelief, then unadulterated rage. Her carefully constructed facade crumbled, revealing the raw, ugly truth beneath. "Derek," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Robert's face contorted. His eyes, usually sharp and calculating, were now wide with a primal fear. He began to sweat, his carefully coiffed hair plastered to his forehead. The chatter of the party abruptly ceased. All eyes were on the Crawfords, witnessing their silent, agonizing disintegration. "The subsurface rights?" Lillian finally choked out, her voice a raw rasp. He owned the subsurface rights? The words hung in the air, a death knell for their carefully constructed reality. The revelation had landed. The long game had begun. David, his face a mask of professional composure, stepped forward. Derek anticipated your actions, Lillian. He took steps to protect his interests. He paused, letting the weight of the statement settle. And Emma S. Lillian's scream pierced the silence. A high-pitched, animalistic sound that seemed to rip through the fabric of the party. The businessmen, once eager to curry favor, now backed away, their faces a mixture of shock and embarrassment. Robert staggered back, his composure completely shattered. This can't be true. He looked at me, his eyes filled with a mixture of disbelief and a dawning recognition of his own folly. I stood, my heart pounding, my body trembling. This was it. The moment of truth. I met their gaze, my face a mask of quiet resolve. The weight of the secret, the years of deception, the grief, the fear, all of it coalesced into a single, powerful emotion: vindication. It is, I said, my voice calm, steady. And now, you're going to leave. The Crawfords' world imploded. Overnight, Lillian's social media accounts became targets of ridicule, her carefully curated image shattered by 1,000 mocking memes. Robert's business connections evaporated, replaced by whispers of scandal and incompetence. The city, alerted to the situation, swarmed in, eager to negotiate the purchase of the subsurface rights. They offered a price far exceeding the Crawfords' initial valuation. I, once a grieving widow, now wielded the power. It wasn't a power I sought, but one thrust upon me. The town, initially skeptical, watched in amazement as I, through David, dictated terms. The sale of the subsurface rights to the city was finalized, and a substantial portion of the proceeds was earmarked for a scholarship fund in Derek's name. I could have pursued vengeance, but Derek taught me better. He always said, "Emma, be better than them, show them the way." I chose justice, not retribution. Lillian, a shadow of her former self, was spotted at the grocery store, her face a mask of forced composure. She avoided eye contact, her shopping cart a stark contrast to the luxury she once enjoyed. Robert, his shoulders slumped, his voice a mere echo of its former booming self, was seen attempting to network at a local business meeting. The cold indifference he was met with was a stark reminder of his downfall. The town's opinion of me shifted dramatically. The dismissive glances transformed into respectful nods, the whispers of pity replaced by genuine admiration. Mrs. Gable, the woman who had questioned my ability to run the cafe, approached me with a hesitant apology. "Emma, dear, I was wrong." Her words were laced with genuine regret. Even the men, who had previously looked at me with pity, began to treat me with a newfound respect. The contractors, who once dismissed me as a weak widow, now listened attentively to my instructions during the Harbor Brew renovation. The transformation of Harbor Brew was a source of immense pride. The expansion, the new equipment, the hiring of additional staff, all a testament to Derek's vision. It was more than a coffee shop. It was a legacy. The reopening, a celebration of all of Derek's hard work, was a community event. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the scent of fresh baked pastries, the sounds of laughter and conversation filling the air. But the new reality was not without its complexities. The weight of responsibility was heavy. The constant media attention, the endless meetings, the pressure to maintain the high standards Derek had established, it was exhausting. I found myself wrestling with the loss of my privacy, the constant scrutiny, the burden of being seen as a successful woman. I learned to navigate the complexities of wealth and influence, balancing business with personal life and honoring Derek's memory. The biggest change came from within. I had always been a private person, content to live in the shadows. Now I was forced to step into the spotlight, to embrace my newfound power, my newfound voice. It wasn't easy, but with David's support and the unwavering belief in Derek's vision, I learned to thrive. I found solace in the quiet moments, in the familiar rhythm of the cafe, in the comforting aroma of coffee. The reopening of Harbor Brew was more than a business venture. It was a symbol of resilience and community. It was a testament to Derek's unwavering belief in our shared dream. The town's response was overwhelming. People came from miles around. I had built something meaningful, something that transcended profit and loss. The long-term consequences: a new generation of entrepreneurs inspired by Derek's story, a renewed sense of community, a stronger economy for the town, and for me, I realized Derek had built a future. His legacy had been secured. My path was set. The challenges would continue, the pressures would never fully dissipate. But I knew, with a certainty that warmed me from the inside out, that Derek's love and vision would continue to guide me. I stood in the newly renovated cafe, the morning sun streaming through the large windows, illuminating the faces of the customers. The aroma of coffee, a familiar comfort, filled the air. A group of children, their faces lit up with excitement, ran towards the bakery. The bell above the door chimed, and the door opened. The sun peeked into the door, a reminder of the legacy, the power of quiet choices. The bell above the door chimed, announcing a new customer, a fresh start to the day, a new day. I took a deep breath and smiled, pushing away the memories of the garden party. The air was still thick with the echoes of Lillian's scream, a sound that would forever be etched in my memory. It was a victory, yes, but the aftermath was far more complicated than I had imagined. The practical changes were immediate and undeniable. David, now more than a friend but also the love of my life, was at my side daily, helping me navigate the legal and financial complexities. We had a new house, a beautiful place overlooking the water, chosen not for its extravagance but for its serenity. But the greatest change was the way people treated me. The pitying glances were replaced with respect, even deference. Neighbors who once avoided eye contact now greeted me with genuine warmth. Local business owners who had previously dismissed Harbor Brew as a cute little hobby now sought my advice. The town council, who had once ignored my suggestions, now actively sought my input. I had gained power, influence, and respect, but it came with a price. The constant attention was exhausting. I was no longer just Emma, the grieving widow running a small coffee shop. I was Emma, the woman who outsmarted the Crawfords, the woman who had built a secret empire. The media wanted interviews. The local news was obsessed with every detail of my life. I struggled to find a balance, to maintain my privacy, to simply be myself. The attention felt like a constant spotlight, highlighting every move, every decision. There were unexpected consequences. Some relationships strengthened. My bond with David deepened. My friendships with the cafe staff, who had always known the truth, were now forged in the fires of shared victory. Others fractured. Derek's sister, Sarah, who had always been close to her parents, struggled to reconcile the public revelation with her loyalty to her family. She couldn't bring herself to forgive them, but she also couldn't forgive me for what I'd done. Our friendship, once so strong, dissolved into awkward silences and strained conversations. I found myself grappling with the weight of my newfound wealth. I had never been driven by money, but now I had more than I ever imagined. I used the money to invest in the town, to support local businesses, and to create opportunities for others. I established a scholarship fund in Derek's name, helping young people pursue their dreams. But the money also brought a sense of isolation. People treated me differently, their motives often unclear. It was hard to know who truly cared about me and who was simply interested in my money or influence. I learned to navigate this new reality, to embrace the power I had been given while staying true to my values. I learned to trust my instincts, to surround myself with people who genuinely cared about me, and to block out the noise and negativity. One day, a few months after the revelation, I was at the grocery store when I saw Lillian Crawford. She was standing in the aisle, her face pale, her eyes red-rimmed. She looked lost and alone. I wanted to feel triumphant, to revel in her misery, but instead, I felt a pang of sympathy. The Crawfords had lost everything: their reputation, their influence, their social standing. I knew from the letter what her life had been. I knew how much she had invested in all of that. I approached her cautiously. "Lillian," I said softly, "are you all right?" She looked up, her eyes filled with a mixture of shame and surprise. "Emma," she replied, her voice was a mere whisper. I didn't know what to say. I offered her a small smile. "I understand." We stood there for a moment, in silence, the unspoken words hanging between us. Then she turned and walked away, leaving me standing in the aisle, contemplating her loss. The encounter left me unsettled, but I realized something important. The victory wasn't about destroying the Crawfords. It was about honoring Derek's legacy, about building a better future. I had achieved my goals, but it wasn't as satisfying as I had anticipated. The next challenge was the reopening of Harbor Brew. The renovation had been completed. The new space was beautiful, a testament to Derek's vision and my own hard work. But the reopening was about more than just a new building. It was about moving forward, about embracing the future, about honoring Derek's memory. The day we reopened, the cafe was packed. The air was filled with the aroma of coffee and the buzz of conversation. I stood behind the counter, taking orders, greeting customers, and smiling. I was no longer just the grieving widow. I was a successful businesswoman, a community leader, a woman who had overcome adversity and built something meaningful. As the day wore on, I felt a sense of peace. I knew that the challenges would continue, that the pressures would never fully dissipate. But I also knew that I was strong, that I was resilient, and that I was surrounded by love and support. I had the freedom to make choices, to follow my heart, to build a life that was true to myself and Derek. The reopening of Harbor Brew was the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter filled with hope, purpose, and the promise of a brighter future. It was about building something meaningful. It was the foundation of our future. The sun streamed through the windows, illuminating the faces of the customers. The aroma of coffee was everywhere. The bell above the door chimed, signaling a new day. What was gained was a life reshaped, a dream resurrected from the ashes of grief and deceit. The facade of a struggling widow vanished, replaced by the quiet strength of a woman who outwitted those who underestimated her. What was lost was the simplicity of anonymity, the easy comfort of a life lived in the shadows. Success, I realized, is not just about power. It is about the choices we make when no one else is looking, the values we uphold when the world tries to define us. The secrecy, the careful planning, the constant vigilance, they were a necessary burden, a shield against the Crawfords' greed. The true cost was in the moments lost, the shared dreams deferred until the storm had passed. Now, I stand here in the cafe, the morning sun warming my face, Derek's spirit woven into every beam, every brick. Reader, have you ever been underestimated? Have you ever been forced to hide your light, to play a role that diminishes your true potential? Know this: the quiet choices, the hidden strengths, the unwavering belief in yourself, these are the seeds of true success. The world may not see them, but they are the foundation upon which you build your empire.